All right, it looks like we are finally live. Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning. We're almost in the afternoon here in the U.S. The game's not even over, but here is a reaction, and lots of questions to be asked about today's game. But here is a live reaction of the calamity that just occurred at at Old Trafford. Very well deserved by Liverpool. Very good win. I don't think the score's a true reflection of what happened in the game. I would have said 2-1 to Liverpool. I think would have been a really fair result. But there are very specific questions that I need to ask. One, the first thing is regarding Marcus Rashford. And the title of this video is Who is to Blame? So I've got a lot of people that I'm going to put on the spot here on who is to blame. So Marcus Rashford is one of our premier players on the team. Premier, what do I mean by that? He's played some of the most games out of any player on our team. He has some of the most goals out of any member of our team, right? He was an international until recently, right? So he was a full-scale international starter in most cases. So this is a player, this is an experienced player, a player that has not only the acumen, but also the accolades to back up the type of level that he should be playing at. My issue with Marcus Rashford is the following. One, he is an incredibly stiff player. What do I mean by that? The man can run north to south incredibly well. He has no east to west movement. You know, there's players who can take a player off the dribble really fast, right? And like juke him. You've seen players do it all the time. Luis Diaz is a perfect example. Eden Hazard used to do it all the time. There's tons of players who can beat a man 1-to-1. Marcus Rashford actually doesn't beat the man. The ball beats the defender, and then he runs and catches it. If you notice the way he beats players, it's not him dribbling past the man. It's the ball beating the defender and then him chasing it and winning. That's what I mean by he can't go east to west. This man has not registered a single shot on target in 3 games. God knows he's had opportunities too. And my question is, who is to blame when this player is still starting on the field? Okay. Is it Marcus Rashford who cannot get to the level that he needs to be at, which I'm not expecting. When we were talking about Rashford 3-4 years ago about being Mbappe levels, that was so blasphemous. It's ridiculous. He is not even close to being at a Luis Diaz level. Okay. He's not even close to being at an Isaac level, right? Marcus Rashford is a very, very average player. I think the ceiling for Marcus Rashford is 15 to 20 goals a season. I think that'll be in a weaker league. It's really unfortunate Paris didn't take him because he's just not a very dynamic player. His passing, let's not even talk about his passing. Marcus Rashford has a passing level of some championship players. It is god awful. God awful. He routinely messes up 3, 5-yard, 8-yard passes, which should never happen at a player of his level, not as consistently as it does. And let's not even talk about the distance passing. It's the same. It's the same thing. He's a very self-centered player, always trying to be on the ball first, always trying to make something for him, not looking for his teammates. And then once he sees that he doesn't have space, once Marcus Rashford doesn't have space, the game is completely shut down for him. If you cut off the sideline and you have a player marking the center, it is absolutely over for Marcus Rashford. It is embarrassing that this player continues to play. And that's the question. Who is to blame there? Is it Marcus Rashford not being able to find form? Or is it Ten Hag, our coach, who cannot get him off the field? Okay. Who cannot get him off the field. Okay. I didn't see the last 5 minutes because I jumped on here. But why is it a player that isn't performing does the whole 90 minutes? Why is that? That is my question that I need to understand. And I wish reporters had the balls to say this in these press conferences, is ask that tough question, because anybody who was watching that game can see that Garnacho and Rashford had a tough game. But you're not going to tell me that Garnacho has had the same amount of opportunities as Rashford. during the first 3 games. He has not. And he has been our better player last season. Garnacho needs to be starting on that side. That is the role that he has been played. This is a young player. You need to develop him in the role that he's been asked to participate in, and that is on the left wing, and that is Marcus Rashford's spot. Marcus Rashford needs to be dropped. Okay. Is that very clear to not every single person watching this game? Is it not clear? Because I'm really not understanding the reason why this gets in. And I understand we have, as coaches, we have to make tough decisions, and we make plenty of bad ones. Okay. Trust me, we've all made our fair share of poor coaching decisions in our coaching careers. But not take off a player like Marcus Rashford when he's not performing is not only hurting Marcus Rashford, but it sends a message to every single other player that now you have your favorite, and your favorite gets to do whatever he or she wants on the field and does not get repercussions for it. And that will send chilling spines in player management with other players that Ten Hag will have to deal with. I guarantee you there are other players in that Manchester United squad, and I don't have any insider information. I have nobody telling me this. I don't read the Guardian or all that crap newspaper, but I can tell you for sure there are players in Manchester United who behind the scenes do not trust Eric Ten Hag's decision making because of the way he treats certain players. And that brings me on to my bullet point number 2. Again, who is to blame? Manchester United have struggled to put goals in the back of the net for several years now. It's been one of our biggest issues for a long, long time. If you have watched every single game, like many of us have, that is not uncommon to hear and discuss at the local pubs and on the web chats. Okay, we do not put enough goals in the back of the net. In our first games, we have had Amad Diallo and Xerxes as the only 2 goal scorers for this season. Both have respective 1 goal. Ahmad happens to also have goals in preseason. Okay. Ahmad right now is probably the hottest player in front of goal, especially since he scored the last game. My question to you is, if you have a player who is playing well and scoring goals, and you struggle for scoring goals, despite Ahmad's relatively low minutes and experience, do you think he should not be starting on that right wing? Or do you think it's the right move to put a more experienced player like Garnacho in that spot, because you're not going to take Marcus Rashford out? So again, bullet point number 1 about who's to blame for Marcus Rashford builds into bullet point number 2. Because if you're unwilling to take Marcus Rashford out, you now have to put Garnacho in a position that he hasn't played multiple minutes in. Okay. So now you've bumped out Amad Diallo because of your decision making on Marcus Rashford. That's really frustrating for players, and I can imagine the wingers and whatnot. I think of a guy like Palestri who didn't get enough minutes. Again, we don't know what we had in Palestri. Anybody who comes on here, and I know some of you guys watch the United Stand, and I know Ricky and all those guys, and some people have really high opinions of Palestri, and some people have very low. If you are able to form an opinion on Palestri, you must be an extraordinary soccer coach. You need to get your badges now, and you need to be coaching at the international level, taking up Mourinho, taking up Ancelotti, all these guys, because I haven't seen enough of Palestri to know what type of player he is, let alone what type of player he's going to be and what he can do. The boy has not seen any kind of relatively good, solid minutes. You have no idea what kind of player Palestri can be. And if you say otherwise, you're just YouTubing and all that crap. And that's not how you judge players. You judge them by seeing them on the field playing full games, at the start playing half games, and then at the end, hopefully playing some full games. So we don't know about Palestri. Same thing with Ahmad. Ahmad's a very talented player. You can see that when he has the ball. He looks like he's got a lot of speed, but we really don't know what we have with Ahmad because he needs minutes. Why not give him minutes? Why give him 15 to 20 minutes at the end of the game? Right? I mean, it's disrespectful to Ahmad, who scored a goal against Brighton and whatnot. So, my third thing, here's my third thing. And this, if you guys have watched me and know me, you'll know I'm not an Onana fan. And I'm going to ask you guys, the Onana fans, to really educate me here. Onana's best skill set is what? What were we told? What are the YouTube videos highlighting? What does he do every single game? He's a keeper that plays with the ball at his feet, right? That's what we were told. You see it every game. It's on the TV. It's on Peacock. It's all over YouTube. Okay, he's supposed to be the best distributor. Do you know how many games, how many times a game Onana poorly distributes the ball? It's like 3, 4 times a game. And it looks ridiculous. Like, has our distribution from the goalkeeping spot had any kind of impact on our ability to score more goals? No. Has it allowed us to retain the ball more? Yes. Have we lost the ball in more key areas over the last 3 years? 100%. So I can understand the logic behind we're trying to move in this new direction. I understand that. Understand. But the best attribute of Onana is actually what he's making plenty of mistakes on. And it's really not contributing to the benefit of the team. Okay. I don't think necessarily in the short run, for sure, that's been proven. In the long run, it's questionable. I know we have to see the center back gelling and whatnot, but his long ball distribution is I actually think his short ball is fine. I don't mind him spreading the ball out to the wings, even cutting through that middle when our 6 or 8 checks back. I think that's fine. I think that's good. That's what we wanted to see. But his long ball distribution to the outside wingers of Rashford, Garnacho, anybody who plays out there is oftentimes atrocious. And I know he's ambidextrous. I know he can, or whatever it is with your feet. I know he can kick with his right and his left, and that's fine. It doesn't impress me when I don't see other distribution goalkeepers try to do what he does. They keep it a lot more simple. And I mean, the perfect example is Allison across the cage. I mean, he doesn't try to do too much. I think Onana wants to be a star goalkeeper. And again, I don't know the man. It's hard to judge, right? When you don't know people, when you're just seeing them as soccer players. But he strikes me as someone who wants to be a top goalkeeper, who in his mind, right, he believes he's a good goalkeeper. And I think he's a decent goalkeeper, but he is not at the level. I mean, his shot stopping ability is so poor, guys. That Salah shot was fine. I mean, if Salah really kicks that and buries that in the corner, there's no goalkeeper coming close to that. Onana looks out of position all the time. His distribution, which is his best attribute, isn't even there. So again, the other thing that I have a problem here is Onana never gets taken out. We have a backup in Altay Bayındır, the Turkish goalkeeper. We have never seen him. We've never seen him. And we had a perfect opportunity to see him last year when Onana was out, right? And again, why is there a lack of trust in this squad? I mean, at this point, Ten Hag is not going to be able to survive when he has all of his players and they are all underperforming, right? Onana underperforms week in, week out. Anthony was a $90 million signing. Can't even see the field today. I mean, that's shocking. That's shocking that a guy like that can't see the field. So that's my ripe on Onana. I'm not going to be a fan. I don't like the style of goalkeeper. I think it's an added bonus. If a goalkeeper can distribute, fantastic. I think every goalkeeper needs to be able to play the ball with their feet, but there's levels to distribution. And I just don't think we need that level Ederson, Allison, and there's a few others in the Italian league and whatnot. But it's just not. I think a goalkeeper needs to be extremely good at blocking shots out of the box, and I just don't think Onana does a good job of blocking shots. I just don't. I think he's. I think he's a big. I think he's a big dude. I think he's a strong dude. I think he's very vocal. I think I'm sure he understands the position fairly well, his positioning. But in terms of a shot stopper, I just don't see it. I do not see it. And we had guys like this. I support the French national team, and Barthez was the first one out there doing this kind of crap. Guys, go look at the similarities between Barthez and Onana. It's shocking. And it's not the distribution. It's the way they position themselves on shot stopping. The shots that should not be saved. I remember Barthez on one-on-ones. Dude, the man was ridiculous on one-on-ones. And he'd take people out. He was good, but there were then silly stuff, like things you're like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. And Onana does that too. So that's my fourth one. My third one. My fourth one, I want to go back to the substitutions because I think man management is something that you see certain coaches have. You see Ancelotti, you see Zinedine Zidane, you see guys that have excellent man management skills, and there are plenty of others, by the way. And you realize that Ten Hag this is a very poor thing for him. I know I've talked in other videos about the Sancho thing. I've talked about the Ronaldo thing. He's had drops with multiple players, all the way in the days of Ajax with David Neres and et cetera. There's a lot more. My issue today is, again, Rashford doesn't get taken off. Garnacho does. Not right. I'm sorry. Not right. Best defender today was who? It was absolutely a battle between Mazraoui and De Ligt. Nobody else comes in that conversation. De Ligt gets taken off for Harry Maguire. And I don't think Harry Maguire did anything wrong. That's not the point that I'm trying to make. It's a big squad. You need to make changes. No problem. But why is it consistently the same players that get taken off, even when they're having a good game? And that fundamentally, that will screw with a player. That will screw with a player. I had a player who I did the exact same thing with. He had one of his best games, and I took him off for a stronger player. Okay. Now, let's not get into the argument whether Maguire is a better player than De Ligt, because I don't think so. I think De Ligt is a much better defender than Maguire. But let's say it's the opposite, because I would be upset if it was the opposite. Maguire has had good games for United. In fact, he recently had a good game for United. That first opening game was a good game for Harry Maguire. For him to be playing a good game and then be taken off, and there's a difference in being taken off at the 60th minute or 70th minute, and you can tell when it's like a strategic change, or whether it's a good job, let's give you a breather change. You can tell it on the coach's face. You can never hide it, by the way, guys. Go look at the coach's face, if he's standing, if he's sitting, and you can tell immediately if it's hey, good job, man, I want to reward you. De Ligt should have had that today. There's no reason for De Ligt coming off. You're down 3-0. De Ligt needs the fitness. Like, there's I understand he's on a yellow card, but come on. De Ligt, you pass it through the ranks. Hey, De Ligt, stop tackling. What's the difference between 3-0 and 4-0? Nada. And you just finish it out. I would have, however, taken Martinez, who looked a lot worse, right? So again, there's ways to maximize how these players are feeling in much better ways. The other example that I wanted to bring, again, it just shows it shows zero class from Ten Hag, zero, and it shows zero EQ. Christian Eriksen, lovely player, lovely man. We've heard so many great things, like what he's done in his career, fantastic. He hasn't played a single minute of Premier League action until today. The guy comes on with 10 minutes to go in the game. What do you think that does to a player? You don't think he could have played? He could have played in that first game or the second game, maybe 5, 10 minutes. You're allowed 5 substitutions now. Like you couldn't have given him some time to get his feet wet. We all know Eriksen's not the player that he used to be. Like nobody's arguing that. But you put him on in a garbage. The game's done. What do you tell him on the side? What honestly? How do you motivate a guy like that? You tell him, oh, hey, come on, baby, energize. He's been sitting on the bench watching his own team get pulverized. Okay, for 75 minutes. So what do you tell him? You tell him, okay, go get some minutes. Go. Do you do the opposite? Do you go, okay, hey man, we just want you to get your minutes and get? He's looking at you like, what? You're putting me on now when it's 3-0? It's just poor, man. It's really poor. It's that same thing with Ronaldo where he was like, I want to protect Ronaldo because it was 4-0 or whatever in that game. And like his career doesn't deserve. Ten Hag does not read or understand people well. That's very clear. That is 100% clear. And his man management has been bad for several years now, but he has the players that he wants. He's got Mazraoui, ex-Ajax. He's got De Ligt, ex-Ajax. He's got Onana, ex-Ajax. He's got Martinez, ex-Ajax. He's got Eriksen, ex-Ajax. He's got Anthony, ex-Ajax. He's got Xerxes, his Dutch. He's gotten more than enough of what he wants. And yet he's going to pissly manage the squad. And I agree with Ten Hag on the one thing he said in the interview. He said that we have the most trophies behind Manchester City in the last 3 years. And he's right. He's right. But he better continue to win trophies because he's not going to win Premier Leagues or Champions Leagues like this. So he's gonna have to continue to win FA Cups and Carabao Cups. And that is not taking the next step forward. I have protected Ten Hag for 2 years now, and I agree with him. I like the last 2 years. I like the trophies. We are about trophies, but we have to grow. How do we grow? We have to be a team. We have to play with a certain kind of identity and strength. And one thing that he doesn't understand that he's going to need to is, yes, we've been the second most successful team after Manchester City. That's factual. That's not an opponent. That's not an opinion. But we aren't the second best team in England. And that's the difference, Ten Hag. Is in order to win the Premier League, the opportunity to win the Premier League, or to win the Champions League, or the Europa, you're going to have to be one of the best teams in the league. And Manchester United is not. But however, it is the second most successful team in the last 3 years. And there's a big difference. And if you can understand that difference, I think you can come to terms with what this club is. And this will be a very similar season to last year, with an opportunity to probably win one of those 2 trophies. But we will not be. If we manage like this and we play like this, we will not be in the top 4. And that's after 3 games in. So thanks you guys for listening. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. But to recap, Rashford can't be starting anymore, but he will. You gotta give players when they play well chances, and that's the guys like Diallo when they play well. When De Ligt plays well, Maguire. You gotta stick by him. Otherwise, you'll lose your dressing room. 3, Onana long term is not the solution. we will have to go back into the market for a goalkeeper at some point, and that is coming. That's going to be a hard pill to swallow. And 4, you have to make better substitutions. Thanks for watching, guys.